in Europe last night. Good result for Chelsea. They pretty much blew Ajax away. 5-1, they won that. And now they've got Sunderland at home at Stamford Bridge this weekend. Interesting one, that. We'll see how that goes. But of course, we are getting used to the idea that it's Enzo Maresca who is guiding Chelsea from match to match, and we'll see how that goes in the fullness of this season. But one of their most famous sons, John Terry, will John Terry ever be considered a serious candidate for management? John has said it's his, quote, dream to manage Chelsea one day, but he finds it difficult to fathom that he's been knocked back from roles due to inexperience. Now, he posted this on TikTok, right? He's driving about. I don't know who he's talking to in the passenger seat, but he's gushing forth about his thoughts about management.
I'm not sure it ever happens, to be honest. It's my one last dream I've got at the football club to kind of achieve. I've done everything at Chelsea. And for me now, the one thing that's missing is being manager of the football club. Hence why I went into coaching after I finished, because my idea and dream was to kind of go out, learn my trade a little bit. As a player, like, you retire after 22 years playing, and listen, 100% you learn enough to go into management. Playing the level I played at and the managers that I played under, it doesn't give you the right to just go into management at a certain level. You still have to learn and understand what it takes, and like, there's a lot more goes into the coaching side of it. So I went away and learned my trade, and then I had some unbelievable times at Villa, and then left Villa to then be a number one. I thought I was ready. I think I would be a really good number one personally. I enjoyed the coaching side of it, but I never got the buzz of coaching of going, oh, this is where I'm at, me. Like, I want people around me that are better coaches than me. I never see myself as like an unbelievable coach, but I would get better coaches around me, and then I'd like to lead like I did the dressing room and the team, really, for me. But
it's about man management as well.
I think so, more so nowadays. I think the players, and that's what I've done for 22 years at the club. So I know I'll be good at it. Will I get the chance? I'm not sure, without doing all the other bits. But when people keep telling you you've got no experience, it's difficult to kind of fathom. But
I don't know who's chatting to John in the background. Maybe he picked up a hitchhiker at a recent roundabout or something. But anyway, that was the discussion they had. When you think of it, John made over 700 appearances for Chelsea, won 5 Premier League titles. He spent 3 seasons as assistant manager of Villa. That was under Dean Smith, before taking up coaching roles at Leicester and Chelsea, where he works part-time. What do you make of where he's going with that? Because of his vast experience.
I mean, I would say that's a sort of carpool karaoke. It's not. It's a carpool TED Talk. He's got a new format, John. He's created a new broadcasting format, carpool TED Talks. I mean, I like John Terry. I've always liked John Terry. I tried to sign John Terry on loan from Chelsea, and Ken Bates gave me a lovely little an epithet, an epithet of what he thought I should do with that particular idea. And
what, when it was a young John Terry?
Yeah. And then I saw him playing a pre-season friendly against us, and he was just an absolute class footballer, class centre-back, class leader. And I had him on up front, and he did one of his first big interviews with me about 18 months ago, and he was really, really good. He is, to me, the embodiment of football leadership on a field. He was a leader. There's some controversies around John, but there's controversies with lots of people. But as a footballer, as a leader, first of all, he was a Rolls Royce of a player. Second of all, he was a first-class leader. And so if I was a football club owner, would I interview John Terry? Yeah, I would. I would interview John Terry. If I was a Premier League football club owner, would I interview John Terry for a job if it was his first job? Probably not. Do I get the sense from John there's a burning intensity to be a football manager? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I do. And that's not me trying to be unkind. I think John's been remarkably successful. I think he's absolutely right in talking about the fact that he's been in the dressing room with some of the best managers in the world. There is a difference between hearing something and replicating what you're instructed to do as a footballer and leading players when you're no longer playing anymore. And you can't lead by example. You've got to lead by the fact that people believe in what you're saying, and you can get people to drink sand rather than water, because that's what you need them to do.
You see, that's interesting to me, because you've interviewed a lot of people over a lot of years. Yeah. You detect, or you wonder, you question whether or not the desire is there in John.
Well, I mean,
why?
I think there's certainly a desire to manage Chelsea, because ultimately what that football club means to him, what his achievements were there, how long he was there for, and how much he's invested and involved in it. If you talk to John, bang, put 50p in John, talk to him about Chelsea, he lights up like a pinball machine, because he's motivated by Chelsea, he's enthused by Chelsea. He'll tell you about the young players in Chelsea. He'll tell you about the evolution of this new manager's opportunity. Right? I question the reality of saying to John, well, you can't manage Chelsea at this moment in time because you've not got the credentials to do it, because they appoint people that have achieved things in management terms, and you have to achieve something now, which means you have to go somewhere else and do it.
But likewise, did Frank Lampard have the credentials to manage Chelsea when he arrived?
Frank Lampard went to Derby and took an opportunity further down the pyramid. Now, I don't know if John has really, and I'm not wanting to speak out of school because I'm a huge John Terry admirer, you know, except when I play paddle with him. I don't admire that at all. But on the other side of it, I look at it and go, does he really want to do what it takes to be a manager? Does he really want to do it at a level which, A, effectively creates an outcome for him that enables him to manage a Chelsea?
Yeah.
Because Maresca went to Leicester. He didn't get given a Chelsea job. He went to Leicester in a club that was in a little bit of decline, built them up, got them promoted, and got his opportunity. Now, if John is prepared to do that and wants to interview on that basis and walk in a room, because I've sat in a room with him and talked to him about football and listened to him, and I get the feeling there's immense substance there.
Well, you did, Simon, and you did on your show up front, and you're right, because John fusses with the idea of management in your discussion with him on this, and you really get into it. Have a listen.
See yourself now as a manager?
Yeah, 100%.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
100%. And I think a lot of people see themselves as coaches, or they'll be good coaches. I'm not sitting here saying I'm the best coach. As a manager, I feel that's what I've done for the last 22 years, is manage people, manage the dressing room. And I think if ever, more than today, it's about managing people, and that's what I've done, and that's what I feel I was best at in my career. So I find that hard, actually, that people are even having that thought. And again, this is where a little bit of me as a character, should I be going, I want this job, and throwing my hat in it? I'm a little bit like, if someone wants me, I think they should come to me a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, you've probably got a different view on that. But I just think where I've been and the career I've had, I'm not saying I want to manage Chelsea Football Club. Yeah, no, as a player. But also that still carries a little bit of weight.
Of course it does. It gets you in the door.
Absolutely.
You don't get your job.
No, I know it doesn't. But then it's down to me then.
Right.
But after that meeting, it's down to me. It's on me.
I mean, does that mindset end up with John getting a job? A little bit. They should come to me, really.
No, that's not
as
going to
opposed
happen.
to me going to them.
Well, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And you might want it to happen. Do I believe that John Terry could make a good football manager if he wanted to, if he really wanted to eat, sleep, and whatever else to be a football manager? Yeah, I do. Because the characteristics he exhibited as a player, if he can exhibit that same level of motivation, intensity, and refusal to accept defeat, then I think he can make a manager. And then he's got to surround himself with some very good people to make sure that as he's learning his trade of management, because it is John talks about managing the dressing room and managing players, and that's fantastic. And I make him right for some of the things he said. But there's a whole different set of rules when you're actually no longer part of a team.
Yeah.
You're the person that sits in isolation, making decisions about other people's futures. And most of the time, you're not in a popularity contest. There's two kinds of people in life. There's popular people and there's successful people. And it's amazing how popular you become when you're successful. So to be a football manager, to be popular, you've got to be successful, which means you've got to take the decisions that ultimately are sometimes very, very difficult. Now, going back to the point, do I think John Terry could be a football manager? Yeah, I do.
In the Premier League?
Well, we'll see, because he hasn't done it. Can't make that decision because it's a whole different set of rules. If you look at people and go, how do you get people to be successful? Well, get people to be successful. They're being successful in other walks of life. There's a distinct possibility they'll carry those characteristics into the next one. But to sit there and honestly, John, to suggest that you think people are going to come to you, no, it's not going to work that way.
No.
It doesn't work that way.
No.
You're going to have to put yourself in the way of it.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to exhibit the characteristics that you really want it. If you really want it, go get it. Because John Terry has all of the characteristics, in my view, to be a football manager. He's quite motivated by his own outcomes. He's quite centred on what he wants. And to some extent, that's the credentials of a football manager. But at the same time, you have to be uniquely aware of what gets people going in the right direction.
Is it valid to ask, what might it not have happened by now?
Well, I don't know. Only John knows in his little TED talk that he was having with someone.
Yeah.
How many times John Terry has put himself in the way of an interview. I know he's had a couple of discussions with people about overseas jobs. I'm not going to be indiscreet and talk about that too much. But the fact of the matter is that if John really wants to do something, then he's got to apply himself. Now, if I was sat back at Crystal Palace and Palace were in the Championship and John Terry and I had a management vacancy, would I talk to John Terry? Yes, and John Terry's agent came on, or John Terry picked the phone up to me and said, look, I'd like to have a conversation about the job. But John's logic, he's saying, I won't do that. Then that's foolish, John, because you need to do that. And if I sat in a room with John Terry and I started to throw him management conundrums, not just leadership situations where John can exhibit the power of leadership, because I think he's a brilliant leader. But real management conundrums about managing up, managing sideways, and managing downwards, and managing the media, and all that goes with a management job now. And then you could start to see in that situation whether John Terry can manage a moderately big football club and then make the stepping stone to the club that he really wants to manage.
It can't work that way, though. Is it not the case that you were phoning talkSPORT constantly, asking them to take
replace you? Oh, sorry, yeah, no, yeah.